Powered by Riverside FM.
Hi folks, just popping a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. The conversation you're about to hear was recorded all the way back on March 9th, 2024. As you may be aware, just a few months later on May 9th, Arkane Austin, the developer of Redfall, was closed by parent company ZeniMax and Microsoft. In light of this news, we'd like to extend condolences to the staff affected by this closure. We have left the episode as it was recorded, as we still stand by criticisms of the game, but would like to clarify that opinions on Microsoft's management have changed somewhat in light of this recent news, as well as new evidence it was responsible for Redfall's rough shape. Once again, we hope only the best for the talent at Arkane Austin, and we hope you enjoy the episode as it was originally intended. In Stephen King's 1975 novel Salem's Lot, a writer returns to his titular hometown in Maine, only to find it has become overrun by an epidemic of vampires. Like all great horror, it's metaphorical. Salem's Lot is less about the literal vampires and more about how underneath these supposedly idyllic images of a small town are tombs filled with dark secrets. It's a town isolated from the larger world, and its residents are isolated from each other, literally draining their lifeblood the longer they linger. Although Salem's Lot is a point of reference here, the allegories of Redfall are a little different. In its story, venture capitalists have transformed themselves from metaphorical to literal vampires, and now prey upon the citizens of a small town in a never-ending night of horrors. Even before the game has begun, the life of Redfall has been stripped out, leaving a husk of something recognizable. Maybe a bit too on the nose of a metaphor then, considering that this was the first game from Arkane following their buyout by monolith tech giant Microsoft. Still, is there some life left worth fighting for here? Or do these vampires totally suck? On this episode of Bullet Time, we chew on Arkane Austin's 2023 shooter, Redfall. The curse and he's in Oppenheimer. Oh,
there he
hello.
is.
Oh,
so our beautiful Italian boy.
Excellent.
That's me. Legally speaking. How you doing? You guys ever see Betty Safdie before? What is he? Jewish or something? Where's he from? From the Bronx?
Safdie, what kind of surname is that? What does that mean?
Is he from Jersey? Where's he from? He's from Newark?
Give me the gabagool.
Nobody can tell.
Give me the gabagool.
I'm just asking questions. Just asking questions around here.
You're gonna have a rigatone and
Hey, give me a reggaeton.
What is this bit?
it's a bit that is on
Every
Pixel
time
all
Kevin
the time,
and I do something together,
it's just
I don't know what it
this
is.
weird New York, North Jersey Italian guy talking about things bit.
Right,
and it occupies at least 30% of all Pixelate episodes that Jesse is on.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I'm trying to think of like opportunities within this game that we could also do this impression. The problem is that like, because it's about Dracula's, but like Dracula's famously have the Romanian voice. They don't have the Tony Soprano voice, which would be even better.
See, but that's how we change the game. If
Redfall
Redfall had Italian, you know what? Actually, I'm pitching possibly the greatest update to any video game ever made. If all of the vampires in Redfall in the newest update were voiced by Freddie Van Zandt, I do believe the game would be at least 10% better.
You walk by minimum. One of those watchers, and you saw the watcher saw you because it's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, you over there, how you doing?
Hey,
did you guys hear that?
What the fuck is going on
Hey,
here?
look at this guy walking over here with his gun and his shoes and his hair. What are you doing?
Get out of here! This is vampire territory.
I can't handle
buddy.
you no more. All right, what are you doing?
Coming soon from Bethesda and Arkane Austin, it's Red Hook, the sequel to Redfall, set on the other coast.
They should make a Sopranos game. If you want to bring back the Bethesda name and give it some fucking heat, let them make a game starring Tony Soprano.
Give me a Tony Soprano game. Guess what? You like Dishonored? You like the jumping and the sliding and the running and all that? You're going to get none of that. Tony walks.
Yeah, Tony ain't doing any of that.
At best, there's a breathing meter. You have to hit some buttons to keep him going. Otherwise, the whole game. Where you going? Where you doing? Where's Christopher? Where's Christopher?
Hey, you've heard of a walking simulator? This is a sitting simulator. I'm just like they're leveraging the power of Unreal Engine 5 to just have like perfectly rendered delis across.
And
like,
it's like it's first person. You get the first person perspective, and it's like instead of like a gun coming up, it's a one-handed N64 controller. And you're like, oh, what are you doing?
As he's playing Mario Kart 64, just like
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't think
Junior,
we were
how
going
do
to
you-
do this, but no, we went to Nintendo and we were able to figure something out, and so yeah, we have an emulated version of Mario Kart 64.
It's because we bought Rareware, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
So we have the N64 controller sitting around.
We
3D
have the
models of it.
technology.
And it's
That's true,
that quality too. It's like 8 polygons. That's all they had to make the.
I'm going to say, Kevin, you know about the PS2 Sopranos game, right?
I know of it, but I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah,
like,
no, it's just
that it exists is basically the limit
That
of my
is it.
knowledge.
it was called like Sopranos Road to Respect, and I want to say that it had the 24 game thing of like the people who produced it were like, oh, this was like this is another you can treat this as another series of the Sopranos. This takes place between 3 and 4 or something like that. And but yeah, all the gameplay is like.
Is it a Shenmue like where you just have?
No, it is.
That would be
Dread.
good.
Like, they do the Ghostbusters video game thing of that because everyone in The Sopranos is just an old fat man. You play as a new recruit. You play as like the most active guy in like the entire Sopranos lore. Who doesn't say a word because he's a video game protagonist and he's really good at third-person shooting.
It's
Only third
it's
person.
strange because 9 out of 10 missions are hey yo Johnny, here's some money, go down to the corner and get some gabagool, huh? And he's like a little slap.
It was put.
Can you
It
get us
was
a couple
put up.
canola?
Yeah, all the missions is
I
what.
can't find pussy anywhere.
What the fuck is puss? And it's
Where's
it's Assassin's Creed style trailing missions, but they're so fucking slow because it's just puss just wandering around, occasionally stopping to have a phone call with somebody.
It's all escort missions. You're just driving between the Bing and Cetriales. That's it, just constantly back and forth. Fuck.
It might as well be a visual
And
novel, like in regards
every
to
time, it's like they only had it could only license one song, so it's the theme song. So every time you get in the car, woke up this morning.
Got your every time you get in, it starts. Every time you get
But
out,
it's
it
an
stops
instrumental,
wherever it is, and then it
so it's-
restarts. Oh my god!
We will. I have got a segue back into the game that we're talking about, but like I'm thinking of
We don't have to.
the driving missions
No, it's fine.
have exactly the same presentation as the beginning, like as the intro credits, where it's like you see the car from different angles. But it's like you're trying to drive a car, but like in Resident Evil, so like it changes angles. It's like okay, shit,
Fixed camera
what's
angle
forward now?
car driving.
Fixed camera angle.
You're just
driving.
creating the most painful video game possible right now.
Yeah, like the car's just flipping out onto the road.
You
as
only
a
get like a
result.
few seconds in, and it's like woke up this, woke up this, load, and then like it's a PS2 game, so it loads for 5 minutes between. Try.
Oh god!
Yeah, no, it turns to black, and you get the Arkham Asylum like death screens where Tony walks out and he's like, "What the fuck was that?" And then continue, retry. Yeah,
That isn't that what happens in the PS2 Sopranos game?
Yeah, I think so.
The guy who voices Pussy like comes up and talks to you. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you can't do your job right? Come on!"
hey, you know what the fucking X button does, right? You know that you have to press R1 and push the stick
Hey,
out,
where's
right?
your memory card? How are you supposed to play this when you come back? You got no memory card plugged in.
What the fuck? There's no. Do you really want to overwrite this save? Do you know what the fuck that means?
Hey, you know, it's funny. There's an episode of The Sopranos where they're eating something and they realize that all the garlic in it gives them agita. So
Yes.
much like the Sopranos
There
and
we
most
go.
Italian people, not liking garlic is similar to vampires who are the stars of Arkane's Redfall.
That is true. Folks, welcome back to Bullet Time, the video game podcast, where we analyze the shooters that missed their mark. And yeah, as our special guest today, who, before we introduce our special guest, we have to introduce our special guest host.
Yes.
Returning once again, it is video game literature's hollow man himself, Kevin from Pixel.
I'm glad to be back. I mean, this is gonna be this is a game, all right.
This has been a long time coming, and yeah, joining us very much on this mission into Redfall, Massachusetts, returning to the podcast. It's been a long time coming, and as we were saying before we came on, finally gets to listen to me with genuinely good audio compared to the last time where I sounded like I was coming through a ham radio. But from the No Click crew, it is Jesse Guarascia. Hello.
Hello. I'm happy to be here, and much like Arkane's Redfall,
Yes.
I, and quoting Dracula, want to suck. Happy to.
I want to suck.
God.
Red. That's on the back of the box. Back of the box.
It is.
God, what?
It's true.
That is the back of the box code is I want to suck. That's in period, full stop,
Yep.
or exclamation mark. God, where do we even begin with this? I mean,
Okay.
I suppose
Yeah.
the most important place, I guess, to where we want to begin, which is that. So this is a new developer that we're talking about here, and this isn't like a mini series. Well, I mean, this is kind of part of a weirdly loose knit mini series
Right.
that me and Kevin have already done one episode in so far, which I haven't really got a particularly good name for it. Like, we're just calling them, quote, Game Pass shooters, because they all seem to be connected by the fact that they're all FPS games that are available, and I would say in the case of Redfall, partially probably designed around Game Pass a little bit as well, as like, hey, for a low entry fee, you can play 100 different games, including brand new games such as Arkane's Redfall, which is kind of an exciting bargain, I suppose.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I mean, considering the game itself is a bit more of a devil's bargain in regards to, if this was maybe something a bit more.
Well, a big part of it is Game Pass being appealing for, I think, what they were going for here. I mean,
Yes.
it feels like Xbox, and everyone's pointed this out, Xbox is constantly changing strategy.
Yes.
Like every week, I feel like they're doing something different. And Redfall feels like it was announced, or at least designed for, it started at this period where Microsoft wanted Game Pass to be a thing people signed up for because it was a cheaper way to play multiplayer games. It was a cheaper way to get access to stuff that in any other context would be $80, $100, $120 if you wanted to play with your friends. So they come out and they say, a well-known studio, and this is, I'm sure, what every studio's mind is saying, but Xbox is in a particularly special place where they can say it's $20 per person or $15 per person a month. If you and three of your friends, want to play this game, instead of each of you spending $60 or $40, even in the case of something like Helldivers 2,
Yes.
you all pay $15, the cost of one $60 game, and you get to play, a decent game from a reputable company in co-op multiplayer with 4 people.
Yeah.
That is a genius marketing
That
move.
sounds like
how
a
could that
steal.
go wrong?
Yeah. I
Wink.
didn't even piece that together, but but Jesse, you are like absolutely spot on in regards to, because it's interesting, like one of Game Pass's like first early hits, and a lot of people had written it off like before Game Pass kind of came around, was like Sea of Thieves. Like this rare game that had been in development for, like 8 years at that point. It'd gone through a couple of different revisions. Funnily enough, also building the Unreal Engine like this game is as well. And when the initial pitch was, it's not even massively multiplayer, it is a online only live service multiplayer kind of pirate game, people were a bit like, that's a bit much of a and Rare having like the last game that Rare made was a Kinect game, so it's like how is this really going to pay out? But then they basically said, hey, this is going to be the ironically flagship title for Game Pass, and I think that was a low enough kind of entry point for people to actually give it a try and go, oh, this is a perfect fit. Like, this is a chill out game, which if I was paying if I paid 60 quid for this, like one-off, probably would have been happy with it. But the fact that I get this as part of a package where I also get a bunch of old 360 games and a ton of indie, like XBLA style stuff.
Yeah.
That's a bit more appealing. And like, as a result, like, Sea of Thieves ends up becoming this kind of, not like a humongous success, but it becomes like the path that a lot of games like this follow.
Yeah,
and then
it's weird because Sea of Thieves is like a game that comes out, and it's like, I think that general consensus is like, okay, it hits, it basically hits, and it makes a sound, and that's everybody nods, and it continues on, and more stuff is added. It kind of defines what live services have come to be is that the studio or the publisher in almost all cases is like, all right, you got to just get it out and then fucking fix it later. And that's kind of where we are. Sea of Thieves is like, hey, it's got Monkey Island in it now. So
yeah, they had like their
Come
first
play
big crossover was with Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever, which was years after that film franchise was like particularly profitable. But like both those things like ended up synergizing together, and people were like,
I don't know. Was it a bad time to do that? Was it too late? Because I mean, I think that came out in the midst of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Oh yeah, that's
So in reality,
fair point.
it was like great viral marketing.
by the way, speaking
I
of,
mean, that would explain
speaking
why-
of that, did you hear?
Oh, I've
did
set 'em
you-
off.
You set me off. Did you hear recently that like half of the accounts that were like, that were
yeah,
like
they were made by,
anti Amber Heard were all bots paid for by Redacted?
MBS. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
sorry, beep. Powered by Riverside FM.
by a certain crown prince of a certain country.
Oh,
Prince
okay.
Pratt.
Let's not say the name. Are there snipers outside of your house? Please blink twice if you're okay, Kevin.
We're fine. It's
He's
fine.
not blinking.
To be honest, I will say, Jesse, I did ask not to like downplay this or anything. I had actually asked if MBS wanted to be on the Redfall episode, but he said I haven't played it. so,
Okay, that's good to know.
Oh,
get somebody
yeah.
to-
Bastard.
yeah. No,
For other reasons, and then also not playing Redfall.
yeah, no. There was. To be honest, there was like another reason. Basically, Redfall was the make or break of like, oh, maybe I won't ask MBS. Oh, maybe that might be a bit. God.
F1 was on. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I said this isn't I said we don't cover F1 games. We'll get there when we cover like other mid-tier genres. We will get to the F1. We will do F1 All Stars there. Mario Kart style cash-in on F1 starring bobble-headed versions of like I can't even remember like any popular F1 drivers at the moment.
Max Verstappen.
There we go.
Just
Yeah, there you
bobbling
go.
his
It
head
is.
around. Yeah, that's the only one I know.
Yeah, that's the only go we need to know. Which
It's
fine.
yeah, it's so big in the No Clip Discord. By the way, I should say there is
What,
a,
F1?
F1 has its own channel.
Danny's
Danny
huge
is-
on it. He's got a whole podcast.
Oh, that's right. He has a separate podcast about fucking F1.
Yeah, with Rob Zachney and Drew Scanlon.
Oh, Drew
Wow.
Scanlon of the
Slash Shift
Drew
F1.
Scanlon of the
The blinking,
blinking
white
white
guy
guy
meme, that's
face.
right. And other important things.
former Giant Bomb contributor. And by contributor, I mean he contributed that gift to the rest of the internet.
yeah. Anyway, Redfall. We're gonna get to Redfall.
So Redfall. So so we were talking about like this becomes like a perfect so live service becomes something that is pretty successful on like Game Pass because like the entry fee for it isn't too bad. I didn't realize until we were about to go live that this was the first game that Arkane announced after the Bethesda merger with Microsoft.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They joined together in 2001, and then it was either really late 01 or it was 02. That was when the initial trailer came out for Redfall, and also the kind of initial promotion around it being, hey,
2001 or
this is the-
2021?
Oh, sorry, 2021.
2021.
And then,
Okay, thank you. I was like, I think he meant 21, but I hope he meant 21. What happened in 2001?
when Bethesda joined forces in 1921.
Wow, okay.
Before the stock market crash happened. But so this was, and again, like, let's quickly talk about sort of the Arkane in the room on this, because I think partially Jesse, why you're here, and also Kevin, why you're here as well. I would say we're all Arkane fans, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We
I love
think
some Arcane here.
Yeah, where did our love for Arkane start? I would ask.
Oh boy. I'm gonna say it was with Prey first.
Interesting.
I played Prey and then I went back and played the Dishonored games. So here's what happened. I had purchased Dishonored 2, played it, fell off of it, played Prey. It kind of clicked the crunchiness of an Arkane
The
game.
immersive sim juices were
It
flowing.
clicked in my head,
Yeah.
and then I went back and I played Dishonored. I even played Arx Fatalis. Most of it I haven't finished it. Then Deathloop. I've consumed everything that they have offered me thus far.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I started with Dishonored 1.
Yes.
I played that when I was pretty young, probably around launch. Enjoyed it, loved it. I think I beat it like 4 or 5 times. It got me to appreciate stealth games. It got me to appreciate immersive sims. Dishonored 2 I played when it came out. Deathloop when it came out. Prey actually I didn't play. It's funny that we kind of have an opposite thing there, Kevin. Prey I didn't play until much after it had come out. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's one of the greatest immersive sims I think of the last couple generations. But I think Deathloop was the one that stuck with me the most. I think I like the cast the most. I like the characters the most. It's not the most like immersive sim of their games, but it is the one that I think captures their aesthetic and their like desire to create something that is visually cohesive and singular more than anything they've done up until that point. And Dishonored 1 and 2 I think are like perfect examples of that singularity, but Deathloop has kind of captured that and fucking just squeezed it down into a singularity.
If there's like one word that I could use that is like the thing that Arkane gets better than like any other developer, it is verisimilitude. Their worlds, like even, and I think we talked about this a little bit off camera, but we were saying about how the game that they did set in the world of Wolfenstein, where they did co-op development duties on that with Machine Games. Not a game I think I don't think either of us particularly like, but like I don't in general like it was seen as a bit of a downflow. But
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Okay, well, interesting. I really liked it when it came out, and then since then I've been a bit like, did I like it that much? I don't know. I'm still chewing on my thoughts of that, but I adore their version of Paris in that game. Not because it's full of Nazis. Let me say that on mic. It is not because of that at all.
Your favorite version of Paris is the one full of Nazis.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I'm not a fan of that whatsoever.
Keep bringing up the 1920s, we're going to send you back.
Exactly right. God.
The level design, I agree. That is the best part of it because it's Arkane.
Yes, exactly. Like, just to sum up, like, because verisimilitude is a term that like a ton of people might go, well, yeah, but what does that exactly mean? Dishonored 1, like, I think of that in that is a world that is full of, like, kind of Parisian-style apartments, and you can just go through a window and just get, like, somebody's life, basically, played out through really good object placement, really good kind of, like, texture, like, all their work goes into these places being very lived in, and very kind of, like, you see again, talking about immersive sims, how is everything kind of tied together in regards to you get an idea of who these people's lives are based on what is inside these buildings, and you just like want to live in the worlds that like Arkane put together. Even the stuff like in Prey where it's like it's a space station falling apart, but it has these like you see the world, it's very BioShock in that when this place wasn't overrun by aliens, you could tell like how decadent and how like sort of well thought out it was.
Right.
And Deathloop's exactly the same thing. Like it is a swinging 60s party that never ended. It's so you go through all these places and it has got like sort of it's a little bit like The Prisoner, it's a little bit like Austin Powers. Right. It's just got all these really cool plugins.
Man, I've not heard anyone make that Austin Powers comparison, but I love those stupid movies. So that kind of that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's very Austin Powers in so much as like, how did people in the 90s see this? Like, it's always like, how did people in the decades after these decades see them? Where everything's like super exact. Like, no one in the 60s has like the mansions that are in Deathloop, but that doesn't matter. Like, they're just really hopping into this stuff and just making it look like supreme. Right. And I guess maybe hopping ahead a little bit, that is at least something I will give to Deathloop. Not Deathloop. Deathloop's, I mean, it's funny because, Deathloop and Redfall do have kind of similar issues, which, again, I'll get into that. But, like, the world of Redfall has still got that really nice sense of versatility.
Yeah, I'll give it that. I mean, the design, it's like, oh, man, it's supposed to be in a Massachusetts-ish New England, right, town? Or,
Yeah, it's New England.
New England. Yeah, it's like, this is New England, all right. I've been to New England. This is New England. Good job, guys.
Yeah, there's the beach. There's a coast. There's boats.
There's
There's a fish.
They have some of those.
There's
They have
fish
lifesavers
fry
on
just over
houses.
there.
We got some-
fish fry.
we
Yeah,
got
that's right.
the Cape Cod houses and the that
Yeah.
look, that vibe.
A lot of lighthouses, a lot of sort of lifeguard houses, stuff like that. It's just
You could tell.
and then again,
You could tell the town was probably a little bit racist.
tiny, just love, they came in like Salt Bay and just had a tiny bit of racism in there.
But like, the racism where it's like, you're like, they're not going to be blatant about it, but if you go into the grocery store, they're going to watch you a little bit. They're going to be like,
grandma racism, yeah, just a tiny,
yes, yeah.
just like a
They
grandma.
go right up to you and ask you.
They
if,
call you boy sometimes.
They go right up to you and ask you if you need any help finding
no.
anything.
Yep, like more than 3 or 4 times.
More than 3.
But then it does have but then I guess the nice thing about the game is that it also does have like quite a nice bit of like modern, so like it doesn't feel like, because the easiest thing to do would be like, oh, this is set in Massachusetts. Oh, it's Stephen King town, so it's literally going to look like Salem's Lot
Sure.
in the 80s. No, but there is like a lot of like nice modern, such as like I think of one of the missions that takes, well, actually 2 missions. So one I think of, which is they've turned an old lighthouse hut, or lifeguard hut, into like a music recording studio. And so it was just this kind of nice mix of like old wooden stuff, but then like a bunch of modern technology in it. But I'm also thinking of when you go into the woods and there's just like this ultra modern wellness center in there, and it's like a bunch of just random, it's like a cube with a teepee stuck on top. Like it is pure like Silicon Valley
Right.
that they've stuck in the middle of the Massachusetts woods. And it's just like, what a really like not to say that Arkane is the only developer that does this, but they are like really in tune with just like a lot of modern architecture stuff, but also
Yeah.
like they know the rules enough to break it that they can do stuff like that.
This is basically. I don't know if I should go into it here. This is why the game bums me out a lot. Is
Yeah.
you fire it up and you're like, oh yeah, baby. This is Arkane all over it, It's like
Right
Right
away,
away.
the first second when you launch the game, because like, sorry to jump
Yeah.
into what you're saying,
No,
but
no,
you just
go ahead.
reminded me. Like the best part of Redfall is, it's sad to say that this is true, but the best part of it is the first 5 minutes, because you wake up on this boat that's crashed sort of on the coast of Redfall City, and there's that cutscene where you see the vampires are showing up and they sort of set up the main conceit, and then you walk outside of the boat for the first time and you look up behind you and there's a giant cresting wave that's frozen in time. And it's like, oh, okay, they brought the sauce. They're making an Arkane video game. You can tell right away. And the next 18 hours, you maybe see 3 things even remotely close to that level of quality in terms of like, oh, okay, I feel like this is made by the studio that made Dishonored, that made Deathloop. Well, not the same studio, but studio that made Dishonored, the studio
Made
that has
Prey,
worked on some of the
yeah.
best games. Made Prey, yes, yeah.
I would say, best way to sum this game up, and just we'll say this right at the beginning of the episode, is that this is an Arkane game that somebody took a drop of Arkane game and put it in a gallon of water. Like the magic is there, but it's so diluted through like an experience that, and I can't even say that it's like this isn't an Arkane game, because no, they like and again like I know I've said that the verisimilitude is the magic of an Arkane game, but like first person like is what makes that work, but just how they make movement and like kind of clambering and just mechanics work in first person is so spot on. Like they were one of the first studios that had like really nice parkour systems working in first person. Like Dishonored 1, like I think gave every game the gift of the blink ability, which is like up there with the long jump in Super Mario 64 and the portal gun in regards to like all-time great mechanics.
Right.
But every single game that they've done since then, even stuff that doesn't really need it, like Prey, has had incredibly good movement systems. Combat stuff, not so much their bread and butter, but like every single game they've done since, and again, like I will agree with you with Deathloop, like that is kind of that is where maybe the Bethesda magic has kind of kicked in a little bit of, hey, we own it. The guys who invented first-person shooters, we can put a little bit of that sauce in your game. And like, for the issues that Deathloop has, the act of playing Deathloop feels fabulous.
Yeah. No, I would.
It is.
Because I would say Deathloop's
just how that-
Deathloop's kind of like. I love Deathloop, but I think some of the issue that people take away from Deathloop is that the ways you can play through a Dishonored or a Prey are a little bit more varied, whereas by the end of Deathloop, it boils down to you have to do these exact steps.
It turns into a dance, essentially. Yeah.
Which is kind of...
I mean, it is choreographed violence, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
neatly can you perform these 8 or 9, however many it is,
Assassinations,
murders in sequence? Yeah, like it's an amazing conceit.
Oh, God,
I think
yeah.
it's one of the most unique things I've ever seen in a AAA video game. But also, yes, it is, like you said, because you can't play it the way you would a traditional Dishonored game or a traditional Prey at this point. I guess it's not really traditional. It's, if anything,
Sure.
Prey 2018 is not even close to the original Prey. It's not even fucking in the same stratosphere. But you go into Deathloop expecting to play one of those games, and yeah, you are playing a first-person shooter with traps or a first-person shooter with like some stealth abilities, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because I never quite said, but like, much like you, Jesse, I was on the Arkane train from Dishonored 1. Like, I didn't know who the developer was. At the point, I didn't even really know much about immersive sims. Like, I think I knew what Deus Ex was. I tried to play it before, and I was like, this is a bit old and clunky. Funnily enough, it was the IDOS ones, like Human Revolution, which was what got me on the train. But I definitely feel like it was stuff like Dishonored, which was enough of kind of like, you know, here comes the aeroplane. We put a little bit of, like, it looks like an FPS, you know, it looks like a Call of Duty, it looks like a Halo, but then the magic is in, you start to dig into it, and it's all these systems and all this world you can dig into. And Deathloop feels like, can we try and do that again, but for an audience that might be a bit more FPS focused? And I still feel like they do pull it up. Like,
they pull it off.
If you played a far, absolutely. And then it's weird because it's so. Because Deathloop was made by Arkane Lyon, while Redfall was made by Arkane Austin, 2 separate studios, and the only game that they've ever made together, funnily enough, was the first Dishonored game. And then from there, they've split off and done their own things. But both those games, both Redfall and Deathloop, feel like they may have started with the same conceit of... And again, this is me doing the gamer thing of, I don't actually research the games that, you know, I want to look into, although I did with this. But they both started with a conceit of, okay, how do we get people into the Arkane pipeline? How do we show them what we do best?
Right.
And Deathloop did that in regards to, let's make it a little less fantastical than Dishonored, but let's, you know, have this kind of, you know, more of an FPS interface. Well, Redfall's main selling point, which is kind of, again, starting before the game even begins, their big pitch to people was, hey, it's a co-op shooter, you and your mates can play it over Game Pass, and it is set in a kind of an open world in the style of Far Cry, but it's going to be from the people who made Dishonored and Prey. What do you folks think of that? And the immediate reaction from a lot of Arkane fans was, not a fan of that. Why aren't you making Dishonored 3? And then a lot of other people were kind of like, I don't really know what an Arkane game is like, so is that good or bad?
Yeah, that has kind of been the problem for immersive sims in general, is nobody fucking plays them or buys them. It's only really hardcore people who either know the studio well enough that they know what they're going to get into, which is no longer the case, or people who just are like, sure, I'll try whatever. It's on Game Pass for $15. The first one they try is Redfall. They are not buying any of these games if this was their first shot as something from Arkane. No shot.
No. It's funny. My opinion on this game has been going up and down since I played it. I am kind of... I cannot hate this game, but I am like... It is like one of the more disappointing titles that I have played in recent memory. The funny thing is that it's currently fighting in my brain against Suicide Squad in regards to, okay, which of these live service games am I more upset by?
Yeah.
Right.
Redfall... The thing is that at least with Redfall... I mean, I will give this. If they hadn't announced the Blade game, it probably would have been Redfall. But the fact that they're still going to make other games is kind of like, yeah, okay, no, Arkane... you had 2 duds. Don't worry about it. You know, you're back in. You're making a Blade game. You know, hey, it's literally just going to be Dishonored with Wesley Snipes. 3 thumbs up if I have them. That is, great news. This is Suicide Squad, where it's kind of more a thing of like, oh, you spent 10 years on this. Oh, God. Oh, no. And even if this becomes successful, you become Bungie now. You're only going to do Destiny updates from here until the end of time. Hate that. Not a fan of that. But
being able to pivot off of Redfall, and the fact that Blade, we know Blade is coming up. We know that.
Well, I mean, you got to remember that it's 2 different studios, though, right? Because
so it's Leon
is making Blade, where Austin made this one.
Oh, right.
Made Redfall.
Austin made it.
So whether or not we see something new from Austin, I think is going to come down to what Microsoft and Bethesda and ZeniMax and all the other subsidiaries that exist below the Microsoft Corporation want them to do.
Yes.
And I don't know what that's going to be. Phil Spencer, I remember, came out and said, we are still going, it might have been Phil Spencer, it might have been Pete Hines, one of the guys, came out and said that something is still going to be done with Redfall. They want to redeem that game and bring it back. It's been out for so long now that if they're going to, it needs to either be something so substantial that it's like a different game, and at that point, is that worth the time and effort? Or they need to just move on and just give Arkane Austin Pentiment budget. Let them make it an indie weird thing on their own. Because if Arkane Austin can come out and say, hey, we still got it. We still got the juice. Harvey Smith's still running the show. He knows what's going on. Rafael Colantonio left after Prey. So, they're missing some of the original creative talent that was at Arkane Austin. But I think if you give them the opportunity, they can do something great with what they have left there. There's still obviously talent. I mean, we're going to talk about it when we talk more about Redfall specifically. But the game, you can see glints. You could see tiny little sparkles of quality. Random houses. Some of the weapons are interesting. Some of the companions are the robot dog is like an inspired visual choice and like a cool thing to include. I think if this game was focused on just that character or just one of the 4 characters, it might have been 5% more fun at least. Because you could have just made one character that felt better.
Which character did you guys use?
Yeah, that's a good place to start. I can't remember her name, but I picked the girl who had supernatural powers. She could make a lift.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, Layla?
Yes, that's right.
Layla!
Wait, hold on. For people who aren't watching video...
Eric Clapton just stumbled into the studio.
Eric Clapton just came in.
How'd he get here?
Amazing.
You got me on my knees.
And there he goes.
Yeah, he fell out a window.
Oh no, he came back.
And he's in a dumpster now.
Sounds like he swallowed a cat. What's going on? What happened to Eric Clapton?
Auto-tune's a hell of a drug,
Eric Clapton invented that, did he, in the 1960s?
In the 1960s, Eric Clapton, he's just sitting there blaming immigrants on everything in his garage. He invents auto-tune. Eric Clapton.
This is why MBS won't be on the pod. He's a big Eric Clapton.
MBS. He was like, "Oh, you had Frampton on. Oh, I'm not coming on this."
Eric Clapton.
Clapton.
Huge piece of shit. Yeah. Anyway,
I did not know that. That's sad.
That's sad to hear. He would actually go into racist rants at concerts.
But he did Tarzan.
Tarzan. Come on. And Cream.
Anyway,
what did he do on Tarzan?
Speaking of awful racist, by the way, I played Jacob Boyer.
Yeah,
the ex-military guy. Yeah. I'm assuming he's.
God, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Shootman. Yeah.
Shootman McGee.
Actually, you know what's Oh, sorry. And Kevin, who did he go?
Layla.
Oh, so we had 2 Laylas and 1 military.
Yeah.
You know what the big problem with this game is? When you pick a character, you will lock with them for the entire, unless you want to start a new campaign, you are just stuck with them all the way through. And again, I understand why, because the idea was, hey, you get to play this campaign with your friends, and they get to pick the other, because 2 people can't play the same character during the same campaign, which is okay, fair enough. But I don't know, this was a bit of an odd one, because I remember that Harvey Smith did come out after the initial reaction, and they said, oh, don't worry, we've retrofitted some of the games to make it a better single-player experience. But one of the things that they didn't do was add, the option of just letting you swap between the different characters, which I think, what you were saying, Kevin, of, they basically spread everything a little bit too thin across 4 characters.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, why not just let us swap between 4 characters, during gameplay?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's weird. It's one of those. I don't know. Okay, so you got this, and my most recent experience with a team based live services ish game that is very competently put together is Helldivers 2, right?
Yes.
Which is like you are just playing a dude who is being shot to the ground, and it doesn't really matter. You can change your layout, like you can change your stratagems when you're launching into the mission. So it allows for that flexibility of a 4-person team. Whereas Redfall, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a Layla player, so I need.
I like it becomes the Pokemon Red and Blue thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to get red and you have to get blue. And it's like, yeah, but what if I also want to play as Layla? What if I want to play as the robot guy kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like you just have to hope that 4 people started playing the game at exactly the same time and they were all happy to pick like.
And that's kind of the core problem as well, is the progression. I don't think I've played any co-op game like this that has actually solved it. But for whatever reason, when they make these games, the approach is the story is locked to whoever the host is, which is fine technically. But what it creates is a scenario where you've got 4 people who are playing a game simultaneously. Do you know how deeply impossible it is to get 4 people to have the same slot of free time ever under any circumstances? So now you've got this game that you have to play the specific character you're playing or start your own separate campaign where you're playing a different character and replaying content that already isn't that fun. And then when you can meet up with your friends again, if you've decided 8 hours in, oh, I'd rather be playing Devinder, or like I'd rather be playing Remy or something, right? I don't want to play Layla anymore. Well, now you're stuck. So now you guys have to go restart. But you can't restart with your friends who've already made progress because you're not at the same story point as them. So they also have to go play it. So it's just like, I hate to quote the angry video game nerd, but what were they thinking?
What a shitload of fuck.
This game is diarrhea coming out of my ass.
Buffalo's ass.
Ass.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny though. Like no co-op shoot because the issue is that what is the solution? Oh, you can just have a tick box to say I've completed that mission, but then they're worried that, well, people will just use that to skip to wherever you need to be. Or it's like, you started as a level 1 Devinder, and you want to play with your friends who are like level 20, and it's like, well, do you give them like an XP booster or something like that? Like, I do see the worry of is like, well, how do you balance that out? But then this isn't the game that should really have that problem.
Yeah.
Because all XP unlocks for you is, because it's Far Cry, you have the tattoo menu, where you go, okay, I'm going to put a point into... my gun is going to do this much damage against this kind of guy, or I'm going to get 2 charges of my special ability rather than 1. It's basically, it's just like a thing of, hey, the things that you can do at the moment,
right?
Which is going to make those easier to do, which is going to change the
weapons
times,
are the real leveling thing, where you pick up new weapons that are leveled up higher. And, you know, the weapon system is a separate fucking mess that is just stupid, and I hate it. So
yeah, let's know what, let's Kevin, you
want to talk looter shooters? You guys
want
to
talk looters? So it's got two layers to it, right? It's got rarity and it's got levels, and the rarity impacts how good it is at that level. But then when you can get a common gun that's the next level up that beats it in just about every category. So it's like, I got this rare shotgun, right? And it's glowing and it's fucking rad. And it's got green and gold and I love it. And then I get a level 3 shotgun that looks boring as shit. And it's better in every category by a huge amount. It's like, what am I doing here? There's too many numbers. Just give me one number.
So I'm assuming both of you...
You've been playing Suicide Squad. I need to hear more about this. I need to hear more about your thoughts on this.
Fucking hell. Where do you want me to start on Suicide Squad? Jesus Christ. I mean
the looter stuff, man. It's so bad.
Oh, it is genuinely depressing to think that it's like, fuck, you made Arkham Knight. Like, how did you go from that to the... Because I was going to say, because both of you saw, did you see the footage that was leaked this week of the quote time splitters like prototype that they
Yes.
Time Splitters
Fortnite.
Time Splitters Fortnite.
Fortnite. Yes. Yeah.
And like, if you haven't seen it, like, and we've said this on the podcast, like, in your mind, you just go, oh, what? Because it's like a battle royale. No, go and look at the user interface of that game, and fucking just lay an image of Fortnite over it at 50% opacity. Everything is exactly in the same places as those games, down to the fact that, hey, everyone played World of Warcraft, right? So we have purple rarity. That means it's that's a rare weapon. Green, blue is uncommon. Green is, gray is the most common. Green is slightly uncommon. Like, this has now just become ratified language across games, and I find it so depressing that it's like, hey, people recognize what this is, so we just need to put this in games.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, so
Funnily
I was
enough,
talking to my buddy about Last Epoch, this latest action RPG that came out this year. It came into 1.0 this year, and we've been playing a ton of it. It's a very fun game, and half of the joy that I get out of playing it is because it plays like Diablo. You get these randomly generated items, loot. You get, I got a white. It has no things attached to it. It's the basic item, and then I get a green, and it's like, whoa, it's a special set item. And I was thinking about that in relation to, because I played the beta for Suicide Squad. I'm not spending money on that. But I can acknowledge what is fun about those games, while also seeing that there is actually an opportunity to use those systems in a more interesting way for games that aren't designed for them. Because I'm in playing Last Epoch, I'm like, okay, you don't always want a unique, because unique items in action RPGs are like, they change your build, they change huge statistical data inside of the game for your class, for your character, for your playstyle. And they're super worth having. But then you also want rares. You also want, in Last Epoch, you want exalts. You want things that have like special, unique traits and stats that help you have better resistances or do whatever, right? So like there's all these elements that build up on top of having the loot system, where in games like this, like Redfall, having a loot system doesn't help anything, because you are constantly menuing, you're constantly switching weapons. You're, like you said, you find a good weapon that has like special traits, but then 20 minutes later you find something that has worse traits but also deals like 900 times more damage. So of course it's worth switching it out.
Right.
I think if they approached this in a way where instead of having tons of like relatively similar weapons that just had slightly tweaked traits, if I could think of one studio that could actually genuinely create items that are worth constantly switching to, it's fucking Arkane Studios.
Yeah. Yes.
If they just only had base weapons and then uniques, there you go, the game's done. You've made the perfect video game. Just give me like 50 guns that do like weird special things, or 50 weapons that do weird special things. Give me a throwing knife that like lets me teleport when I throw the knife. How is that not in the game? It makes me so mad that Redfall from fucking Arkane Studios doesn't have a warp skill. And it's like, you could give me any magical gun. Just any magical anything.
Yeah.
It is.
Sorry.
And again,
That's my
like
rant.
Jesse built on that. We know that fucking Arkane can do that because Dishonored 1 has the upgrade menu. Every single upgrade gives you something fucking brand new to do.
Yeah.
Every single weapon is something completely different.
Just imagine like a weapon, like get weird with it. Give me a weapon that's just like a fucking mirror, but it's reflecting the sun from another parallel dimension, and you can just like,
Dude,
And the thing is that the game does get close.
Harvey Smith, fucking call us, all right?
Yeah, you have some weapons that have like elemental effects to them, like, boring stuff like, oh, you set them on fire or whatever. You have fucking UV
you have the
weapons
UV guns,
that can just stun and like turn them to stone. And it's like, okay, why don't you just put that entire effect onto one fucking gun rather than being like, oh, well, if you get a level 5 sniper master, then you have a point.
So, I was curious. I had to look it up. I had to see what do you actually get out of the legendaries in this game, because I only got 1 or 2 of them, and I thought both times this seems uninteresting. So I'm going to read off the traits that you get for all four of the pistols that you get, the legendary pistols. You guys will be shocked at how nothing this is. So the first one, Ambition. Bullets from this weapon can kill vampires who are not petrified. 2, the clacker. Each bullet fired by this weapon has a 10% chance to electrocute enemies it hits. Does not affect enemies immune to electrocution. 3, death spiral. This weapon deals an extra 30% damage. 4, shepherd's crook. Headshots with this weapon deal an additional 75% bonus damage. That is the most boring Destiny 2 ass list of gun fucking attributes I've ever heard in my life. I'm fighting vampires.
10% chance to electrocute unless they're immune to electricity. So
That's it?
Dead Island 2, which has a plethora of electric shit, right? Which honestly, Dead Island 2 and this game are like what. They're like the same game, right? The one's vampires and one's zombies. Dead Island 2, surprisingly better.
Funnily enough.
Given history, you're surprised.
Funnily enough.
Yeah. But you have electric weapons, right? In Dead Island 2. And guess what happens? It could just be a common fucking with an electric mod, and you hit things and they electrify. Don't give me a legendary weapon. That math's not mathin', bro. That math's not mathin'.
Nope.
I'm going into Northern Lion
Highest
territory.
rarity.
I'm pulling in Northern Lion here.
Oh boy! Finally, we've hit the Balatro era.
We've hit Balatro.
Of this podcast.
So here's the thing. So this is what I was going to say, like, because Jesse, if you talked about this, and it's like, because I hadn't really, like, my brain hasn't, like, I didn't quite, when I initially played Suicide Squad, I wasn't initially in the zone of, like, what makes a good looter shooter versus a bad one. Because, like, when I was playing it, I didn't just want to be like, this game is bad because it's a looter shooter. Because that's boring. Like, that's, if I'm not coming at an educated standpoint, like, that's whatever. So I went to people and I was like, okay, what makes a good looter shooter versus a bad one? And the funny thing is that the thing that finally got, like, fixed my brain on that was finally playing Balatro and going, well, hey, here's the good thing about loot is when you get synergies. It's about finding 2 weapon or finding, like, you know, certain stats that they have that work with the build that you are building. And hey, like, say you are getting an ice grenade and it is doing this, but then you also have because this is only going to work against this one thing. So you want a weapon that fills in the gap that you have somewhere else. Boom, boom, boom. Love, you know, fucking get that, because then I play Balatro and I go, oh, I am seeing this at its most simple level. You are literally teaching me why is this shit good. And I now, like, I am fucking Frank Reynolds having, you know, in the GIF, having watched the film where my eyes are puffy and red and I go, I get it now. You know? And Suicide Squad doesn't have, like, it's funny, I was streaming Suicide Squad all the way along to a guy who is, like, a million hours in Path of Exile. Like, he would have been the person who should have bought, like, Suicide Squad. That's who it was aimed at. And he's looking at it and he goes, okay, you're getting some interesting synergies here. But then you're just picking stuff up and there's just, like, there's no interesting interplay. And Redfall has, like, exactly the same issue where occasionally you get a tiny glint of, like, because I remember getting a weapon early on, which was, it was like this cool kind of rifle, but it was covered in, like barnacles and sort of, like, sea-based stuff. And its special ability was, like, it had, like, a kind of a pushback, like, ability or something like that. And I was like, this is neat. Like, I really like this.
Yeah.
But then because the game also had to be a looter shooter, it was like, yeah, fuck off, buddy. Yeah, you're at level 6 now. Get a level 6 weapon. Get this boring ass pistol. That's a real level 6.
Give me a fucking holy water grenade.
Yeah, like, lean into the aesthetic. It's such a shame too, because this is the studio that would do that, right? That would lean into what they're doing with their style, not just visually and, like, in terms of level design, but also in terms of gameplay design. Like,
you know what? Naughty and nice. We've said really bad stuff about this game, which is shooting the shit. So I'm going to now say something that this game does very good. I do like the vampire stuff in this, though. As in, I like the lore, and I also like the mechanics of the guys. I think that how Arkane approached it, I thought was interesting. Like, they haven't just, like, you know, you got to mix, because, like, I think the go-to whenever anybody thinks of, like, a first-person vampire game, you think of Vampire the Masquerade, a game that I haven't played, probably should play at some point, probably won't do it on the podcast because it's not an FPS game, whatever, that's another thing. But, like, that is, like, the ultimate vampire game in regards.
It's a first-person sucker.
Hey. Hold on, I got a drunk joke for this.
Oh shit! Okay,
there it is.
Beautiful,
hey,
perfect.
Well done.
Well done.
I'll have to remember to download
perfectly
that
timed
when I edit this.
Yep.
But anyway, so what else can you do with vampires? Because like Arkane's obviously doing the thing of like, well, we don't want to do like Transylvania in the 1800s. That has been done to death. What does a modern vampire look like? I love the lore. I love the story and I love the lore ideas of this game. Where basically the thing that and again, like Harvey Smith is basically going to sum this up better than I ever did. Where the concept that they started with was essentially Henrietta Lacks, which was the real story of a woman who had immortalized cancer cells taken from her, like, you know, and again, like, you know, stuff like AstraZeneca and whatever, they have gone and they have used that technology to have all these like amazing breakthroughs, but never consented properly. It was always like this thing.
Yeah,
but you've done
her family has recently, I think they won the lawsuit over the they took the cells from Henrietta. They're called HeLa cells, and they're used in labs just all over the world because they can reproduce infinitely, and it's wild. It's like it's called an immortal cancer cell, and they always can have it. It never runs out, which is like got some real body horror aspects to it. But the fact that almost all modern medicine is based on HeLa cells. They non-consensually took the cells from a black woman and used them in medicine, and now her family has finally gotten the rights to those cells back. Yeah.
No, she was never compensated. Like, these were just taken from her without her consent.
Yeah.
And that's where the story begins of this. It's just kind of like, what if our take on vampires aren't just literal, they're literal vampires, but they're also metaphorical vampires. They are like the tech industry. They are like Silicon Valley dickheads. They are people who have taken the technology that other people have built. They have taken like all this kind of like great work that they had no involvement in, and they have used that to basically power themselves into gods. What if Mark Zuckerberg literally thought like he was like, yeah, I can fly around and shoot lightning out of my fingertips kind of thing. Boom. Fabulous idea. And it completely fits within the idea of Redfall itself of being like, it has one foot in, you know, old New England kind of, you know, oh, the tide's too high, you won't be leaving town anytime soon kind of stuff. But then you also have all this kind of modern stuff.
That was a great Christopher Walken. That was really good.
Hey.
Oh, wow, there's vampires.
Buddy, the bridge is out. Vampires, they're up my ass.
I carried this level 5 pistol in my ass during Vietnam.
Your father's
and now I
golden
give
level
it to
5
you.
pistol in my ass.
I'm level 10, Chris. That ain't gonna help me.
And now it's yours.
No, it's yours.
Yeah, that is yours.
It's your legacy, and the name of the gun is just your legacy.
Oh, Dad's pistol got shitty rolls, too.
Yeah, the gun is just called Your Legacy. But just so the concept of the game is cool, and like how the vampires look is fucking sick. They're like these. It's like it splits the difference between like Nosferatu and Neo.
Yeah,
they're like super stretched out looking, all wearing like leather trench coats. But like, and again, like if I were to describe this game, I would say it's Far Cry meets Left 4 Dead, because the way that the vampires run after you and like attack you is very like the Horde in Left 4 Dead. Like, a vampire on its own isn't, like, going to be a massive threat. But the thing is that the vampires move in packs, and they also have, like...
Once you get a
because it's vampire lore.
Yeah, on you. It's a...
When there's more than one vampire, like, that's where the problem... And again, that's the Left 4 Dead thing of, hey, you want to play this with your buddies because you focus on that guy, you focus on that guy. And then because they're vampires, they also have thralls. So just, like, human guys who use guns. And again, bit of a SPS thing. You have... guys who have exactly the same abilities as you got shotgun guys with armor, and then you have these vampire guys who are all melee users. They can tank the damage, that's the thing, but they have to get up close and personal, so it's all about trying to chip as much damage as that you can away from them before they get into your business. So again, like, Arkane know how to make an FPS game. It's just the problem is that the guns in this game feel shit because they have to, because, oh, you haven't got the good gun yet. You have to play another 15 hours to get the good gun. And then that will stop being the good gun when you get to level X, you know?
Right.
But yeah, the vampires in this, I think, is... And I would say that there is at least one thing in this game that I do really like. And if I was to build a time machine. I'm not going to go stop World War II. I'm not going to go invest in Apple.
Useless endeavors.
Yeah, I'm going to go back 3 years ago and send an email to Harvey Smith and say, hey, the Far Cry thing, but it ain't going to work out. I'll tell you what you have done here, though, which is really good. So, because it's a Far Cry game, there's like a couple of different activities. So again, what's the main issue with this game is that like it's Arkane, but it's been watered down into a gallon of like water.
Yeah.
So you only get hints of stuff, and that's the same as the gameplay. They use the same few templated stuff, and they repeat it again and again and again, to the point of when you've done something 10 times, you don't want to do it ever again.
Yeah, the problem is...
But the problem is you want to do...
It has just a terrible loop, you know? Well, not a terrible loop.
Yeah.
It has a boring loop in that you got the fucking... And I put in significantly less time than you two into the game because I basically hit the point where I was like, I understand... And I closed the game.
you said I've played this game for 5 hours and I know what the next 5 hours.
I
is
know
going
what the
to
rest
look
of my
like.
time with this game is going to be. I bet there are no surprises to be had here. And it was like, do a mission. We're like, okay, well, you can do the mission and you can kind of be fucking stealthy if you wanted to. The game's like you can approach missions from any number of ways. I'm like, don't fucking...
It's an arcade game. Climb on a building.
Don't patronize me. This isn't Prey.
Yeah, immersive sim is when you fucking shoot a lock. That's all it ever takes, baby.
An immersive sim is when you can put barrels on top of each other to get over a metal fence.
That's right. Yes, if there's a roof entrance.
I was like, immersive sim. I can't pick up a crate. It's that done. That's not ImSim.
Yep.
You guys abandoned your magic.
Yeah. That's why Deathloop isn't an ImSim. You can get over metal fences if you like climb onto a roof, but you can't put boxes on top of each other to get over a metal fence. It's not a real ImSim. That's how you know Prey is, because Prey you can put like plastic boxes on top of each other.
And Prey, you have a crate gun.
You
just
shoot
shoot
a
at
little
the wall.
goo gun.
Yeah, that's right. You get a platform gun.
You can go wherever you want with that gun.
Yeah,
but
so good. You can just fucking skip the whole game. Why not?
Why not?
Where's Prey 2? Give me Prey 2.
Stay
prayed up. We'll talk about the kind of... Hey, stay prayed up. I forgot to say, actually, Kevin, you might appreciate this as well, but... sorry, and I will get back to my point. Classic bullet time, bang, 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 10 million different tangents, but... did you notice that in the beginning credits of this game, one of the noted developers was Roundhouse Games?
No.
Okay, so Roundhouse helped with the porting side of stuff, and I think they also helped out on a little bit of game design stuff. Roundhouse Games are all...
Oh my God.
It's the studio that was formed by former... Oh yeah, Jesse's face is Toby Moore. It's all Human Head guys, a.k.a. Prey 2005.
Huh. That is...
And Brink.
That's a weird
Prey
connection.
And Prey together at last. The two Preys have been combined together on one game.
I completely forgot about this. That's actually insane.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, because we talked about this when we did our mini-series on Raven, because after Hexen, a lot of those developers split off to form Human Head. The big project that they had was from 3D Realms, which was, hey, we've been working on this fucking Prey game for like the past 10 years, and we're not getting this out. Here you go, guys.
Right.
And they eventually got it out like 5 years later, and then has since bumbled from project to project. Like Prey 2 was meant to happen, and that never quite figured out. The last thing that they did was The Quiet Man for Square Enix, a game which should be covered at some point, but I don't know. We'll have to invent a podcast.
I remember Quiet Man coming out and people talking about it, and I was like, I don't know anything about this game, and everything people are saying is just confusing me more.
I'm going to say this. Quiet Man is like The Room.
Okay.
In regards to this object of like interest that it just like has all these weird elements going for. It was a Square Enix game that was like the dream project of one of their producers who had been there for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
They had farmed it out to Human Head to basically get this over the line, but gave them the budget of a ham sandwich to get it going. But it is a game that has like it's not like a bad game in regards to like, oh, you clip through the wall or whatever. No, it has like like The Room, there's a lot of like weird decisions that were made that makes it like interesting bad, like funny.
We
bad,
shot
rather
this
than
game
boring
on both
bad.
HD and 35 millimeter simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah, that sort of thing. God. But to get back to Redfall, so there's a bunch of different mission types in there, but the one that I ended up falling in love with, and if I could say to Harvey Smith, just make this the game, it was the Blood Nests. Which are... So to explain to people at home, so the main game is open world, you go to a mission giver, or you go to a mission starter, and then they're all kind of usually like, turn on a generator, take out this head vampire, turn off a tower. You've done this stuff a million times before. Blood Nests, on the other hand, they are randomly generated, which is partially what made me not love them so much when I realized, oh, you're just going to keep generating these, but whatever. The benefit of doing them is that basically, again, to go back to the cool vampire lore, they generate like all these, like despite the fact that their powers are driven from science, they get like supernatural abilities, which I'm like, what a really cool idea.
Right.
Is that like, oh, I injected myself with some goo and now I can control the fucking moon. Now I can stop waves in place. It's like fucking, yeah, whatever you were
Make that
eating
jump
at the
from
Arkane
science
offices.
to fantasy.
Yeah.
Boom, lickety split.
Yeah, literally, I can inject myself with something that makes me a genuine supernatural creature.
It took 8 Resident Evil games, and it took 1 Redfall for them to figure out that that's actually sick. You should just do that.
God, fucking Resident Evil 7 and 8. The fact that in 8 you literally go to the lore room and they have 4 books that explain, okay, here's the scientific explanation for literal fucking ghost and goblin shit.
Here's the science behind
I wish
magic.
you hadn't.
Or even not even going that far. Albert Wesker injects himself with the T virus or G virus or whichever one they're on by 5, and then he just turns into fucking Neo from the Matrix. Like,
Even
sure,
Yeah, I guess he could do it. He's just going whoa
They found
and having
in
gunfights.
Resident Evil 8, they found a magic
Gun fu.
mushroom under the ground, and that allowed one person to literally have the ability to create a fucking ghost house. Like, cool, okay, yeah, Capcom, Resident Evil 9 and 10 and 11. Those are the games. You
got it.
Figured it out,
Fucking
bud.
ghosts, man. Ghost me up, Buttercup.
The Blood Nests have that kind of magic as well, where it's like, hey, as long as these exist, there is a Fortnite-style area of effects around certain areas of the map where vampires are more powerful within them, and like you regenerate stuff slower. So if you get rid of these Blood Nests, you get rid of those, and you can play the game easier. Cool, okay. You go inside the Blood Nests, and it's Left 4 Dead. It is linear straight shots from when you start all the way to the ends. You don't do any kind of, like, again, you don't get the arcane stuff if you can't go into buildings, you can't do exploration or whatever. Fine. They're getting rid of that stuff to make a more focused experience. The guns actually make sense. The way that like the vampires are attacking you makes sense, because it's like you can't just hide on a building and just sniper shot them like you do in a Far Cry game.
Right.
You have to engage with them. And then when you get to the end, and again, I wonder whether this was a Sea of Thieves thing, when you destroy the heart in the Blood Nest, it turns into a game show, and I fucking adore every time it happens. Because Kevin, you did one of these.
I did
right?
not do a blood nest. No, I
Oh
didn't
my
encounter a
God.
blood nest in my 5 hours or whatever. I did several main missions. I did a stronghold. I killed the underboss. You know, the underboss, another mafia thing. Underboss. You know,
I was just gonna say, yeah.
And this guy.
See, they are.
I'm underbossing here. And it was the most underwhelming fucking boss fight I have ever had, killing that underboss. The guy was named Siphon. Did you guys kill that guy?
Yeah, I fought
Okay, so Siphon is just like, he's got a bunch of shields around him and he's floating around, and if he looks at you wrong, he starts siphoning away your health. But if you're in the basement with him, you can just like run back and forth between the 2 rooms, and he kind of like clips on shit because of his big ass shields, and you just like peek out from behind the corner. It's like it was so dumb, and it was just like a tedious. I'm shooting. I'm waiting for him to stop doing that bleh thing that sucks my blood out by hiding around the corner.
It's very Left 4 Dead by committee, as in, like, because you have that guy who's like, what's his thing? Well, he pulls one player away so the other guys have to focus on him. Then you have one who's called, like, Banshee or Siren or whatever. What's her thing? Well, she screams and that buffs the other guys around her.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So it was...
Come on, guys. I mean, I want to talk about one of the final bosses,
But-
because it did. I want to
Yeah,
talk
so
about
that's why I didn't get to the
dog
Blood
shit.
Nest, is because after
That is a shame.
after beating
'cause
Siphon,
Jesse,
I was
you
like,
did a blood. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
Jesse,
did.
you did
I
one of
did
the
one
blood
of the
nests,
blood nests. Yeah, I totally agree that like that is a condensed version of what they're going for. I think in
Yes.
terms of the combat design, in terms of just making the player feel like, and even if it's not in a co-op scenario, which it sounds like, despite the fact that all three of us were playing it and probably could have played a co-op, we just didn't.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's the
might have
thing that you
changed the
said that
experience.
it's hard to coordinate 4 people, and
That is
unfortunately,
true.
it was hard to coordinate us playing the game
Also,
together,
time
which-
zones, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did one of them, and I thought like, okay, if this was more of the game, or even as you approached some of the later moments where you fight sort of the first area boss, that's not just like a
Yes.
vampire in the world. You go into a instanced specific combat scenario. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, the blood nests, the instanced boss fight, those moments where they take you and go, okay, now you're not playing Redfall. Now you're playing, like you said, Left 4 Dead with vampires.
Yeah.
That's when the game excels, because you are in a unique environment that has interesting visual design. You're in a place that has its own language, that has its own like ideas behind it, and it's not sort of limited by the ability to create AI that can function in a totally open space.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just AI that functions in a linear hallway or in a series of rooms that are relatively small and you don't have 900 pathing nodes, and you don't have to like, how do you get out of a garage with a door and go around this house to follow the enemy? So it's so much more streamlined, and it feels like that's where they honed in on the design of the game. And you can feel it when you're playing it. Like you're saying, blood nests are definitely the best part of Redfall.
No, and it's funny, like, you mentioned that, and I'm just thinking in my head, and it's like, I would say that, like, the main, like, even if you went back and, like, you said, you know, because people have gone, oh, it's the live service stuff, which is the undoing of this game. I would say that the big issue with this game is the open world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really funny
100%.
to think of, considering that, like, they have done open games before, but then think of, like, just how Dishonored does an open world, where it's, like, they're very wide, but they're still very linear, and you have, like, very obvious choke points
Right.
in them. Like, I mean, in Dishonored 1, it is literally just an electric wall. Like, you have to
Yes.
get past this in order to get to the train station. And the train station is like another choke
Right.
point. This is this where it's like, no, like, you can climb on any building, you can do this, and that. And it has exactly the same issue that, like, every Far Cry game has, which is the moment you get a high-powered sniper, the power that you get a high-powered rifle, you're done.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
point, shoot, point, shoot,
Yeah.
point, shoot, done. Like, you set yourself up 200 meters away and beat the game. But, like, it completely flattens any challenge. But instant zones don't have that, because you can literally just go, okay, we're doing this. Snipers aren't going to work for you because you're this close to them. Like,
Yeah.
Arkane succeed when everything is handcrafted.
Yeah.
Which goes back to
Yes.
the thermosimilitude thing,
And I think it's
which the open world doesn't have that.
And what they do is it's like Dishonored 1 and 2 don't really have open worlds. They just have big each level is just a big boy. It's a big boy level.
Wide
You
linear.
don't need to
Yeah.
go
Once-
everywhere in the level to beat the level, but you can explore in each level and find the best way that works for you. And I would say even in Prey, which allows you to go at any point, you can almost go anywhere in the station, right? It's I think Prey excels in kind of like having hidden levels, right? It's like, all right, well, I'm doing this part now, and now I'm doing this part. Sort of like the game that Prey is very much most connected to is System Shock, right? Where
Yes, yeah,
it's
100%.
you can like each floor is a level, but you do have some moments where you return to previous levels, so to speak, in order to execute something else. So.
Well, I was gonna say, like, the Prey succeeds because it's a Metroidvania.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
I was just fucking thinking exactly that.
It's a Metroidvania.
You get utility weapons that open up the station,
Yep.
or you turn on or you flip a switch and boom.
It's
doors
got that
open.
Metroidvania.
So it's okay that you're sequence breaking,
Right.
right? Because you
Yeah.
can give the player a tool where literally you can go to the end of the game, but you can't actually get there because you don't have the tool you need, or you don't have the knowledge of how to interact with a certain thing because you haven't done the earlier parts. But you can go there, you can learn the environment, you can find cool things, you can get stuff that still progresses you forward, but doesn't actually put you in a position where you've skipped most of the game. You still have to go back and do the stuff they want you to do. Yeah.
And then when you replay the game, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
You can put all that stuff into effect.
I think if you had taken Redfall, right, and let's say just use the map of the town as an example, right, and the first level, so to speak, is boat to fire station, right, and you kind of just narrow the scope of, you just get rid of the open world aspect of it, and it's just like getting from the boat to the fire station, and then clearing out the fire stations is second level, basically, or just the end of the first one. And then from there, it's just like, all right, well, we're going to take back the town bit by bit. And it's not just like you can go anywhere. You're like, well, we got to make it to the next place. And then we got to make it to like the fucking hospital because there's things at the hospital. And then we got to go to this place. And you turn it into a wide experience that is more linear. That is the way. And God damn it, I feel like you could find. It's almost like I think of these. What was that game that was basically a mod of is it Forbidden City or something like that? It was just an extended.
Oh, for Skyrim.
Yeah, it basically was a Skyrim mod that got spun off into its own game. I'm looking at Redfall and I'm like, listen, buddy, all the assets are there. Like everything is there. You need if you had a massive overhaul mod in an offline version of the game that turned it into a real deal art. Like I feel like it's salvageable. Like I feel like a dude with way too much time in his basement could do it. I feel like Arkane can also do it.
It's funny the way we're talking about this game is like we're being negative about Redfall, obviously, because it kind of deserves it. But like we acknowledge that the reason that it has these faults is because we expect so much, or not even so much, just like we expect a level of consistent quality from Arkane. And they've always hit, even when they make a game that maybe isn't universally beloved, like Deathloop, they still make something that you cannot walk away from and say, it doesn't feel like they finished this. Like Prey, maybe parts of it. Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, does it feel a little small for what it is and like it could have been more? Sure, but like you never leave it feeling like you played something that didn't have every bit of heart and soul put into it. And unfortunately, you feel that way with Redfall. You feel like it's just, or at least I do, I feel like it just, there's so many things, and we've all mentioned things now that like you could have just done this and it would have been more fun.
Perfect,
and like obviously it's easy to be an armchair game developer, right? It's easy to look at it and go, why didn't you just do it the good way? But
just throw more money at it.
It's all we're really thinking about is why didn't you just do the thing you already did? And I imagine part of it is designed by committee, right? It's probably higher up saying this needs to be live service, this needs to be open world, because I look at this format, the open world was terrible. Walking, but there goes my camera. See, that's Bethesda. They're coming to get me. But just like
MBS,
the sniper rifle's pointed at my head. But it's like I look at the open world and the big, huge swaths of space you have to cover, and I think, what is the point of this? This should have been a loading screen, and instead of walking, you just pick a mission from the map that takes you to the southeast, the fishing village city, where there's like a bunch of buildings and houses, and you fight those bellwether guys. That should be a place that you go to. And the way that Arkane makes games, you can have this mission-based structure and like have people give you missions. And when you get there, there's different instance. And this goes back to what James was saying about the instance design, like how that's where they excel. If you just take a city, use it as the bones of a mission and go, okay, this street now has a character, like a little girl wants you to go find her teddy bear, and you go to the house and like the teddy bear is in there, but like now there's vampires, and like how do you get rid of them? You could either do killing, or you could do like cool fun stealth stuff, or like there could be narrative moments. You could change up the area, do it at different times of day, different weather, stuff like that. Like that's what I thought Redfall was going to be, just based on how Arkane has made games for the last 15, 20 years.
It's funny to think, like, I wonder, because I think like everything that we're saying is like right, but then I also kind of then the other half of my brain goes, but they obviously did this stuff for a reason.
Yes,
As
of
stupid
course.
as it is to say, I do wonder whether the open, and we were saying earlier about give them a AA budget, let them work in a smaller space. Was making an open world game ultimately the cheaper option than just making a bunch of instance levels? Because you do get like the problem is that like Arkane still fucking go dummy in the paint in regards to I know every building's unique. Every rooftop tells a little story. So it's not you can't even say it's like copy paste design of all these sort of buildings of like, okay, here's here, here's there. Like Suicide Squad had that issue of like they built an entire metropolis. But the problem was that everything is so flattened in regards to well, this building 2A is going to become a horde mission. And then building 2B is going to be... Like, they could literally just drop a mission type anywhere. And because of how they've designed this game, it was just like, oh, it just fits. The gameplay is so simple that you could literally... You could put it on top of an auditorium, or you could put it on top of a stadium, and it just works exactly the same. And I'll at least give Redfall this. It's never as bad as that. Like, everything still feels pretty tailored to a particular experience of, like, you know... Hey, you know, you're now going into the theater and we're going to use those elements like within this building. Or you're going to go into somebody's house and you have to go room by room. We're going to do stuff with this. But yeah, I don't know. It's just yeah, thinking about it, I do wonder just how much of it was like what they could get away
and
with.
You know what I'll also say is like when I was fighting that first siphon guy or whatever, the house leading up to it, it's like, oh, okay, they put some juice. It's not like go to the house, find the dude. It's like, it's like, oh, we got a little haunted house action going here. There's signs of struggle. There's blood everywhere. Yep. You're being forced really through certain corridors. You can't just like skip to the end of the house. There's a real nice linear quality to leading up to that boss that really sets the tone. It's a bummer that the boss is like boring, bad, but leading up to the boss is like this. This is the way that the game feels like it needed to be more of ultimately. Yeah.
What a shame.
Shame.
Yeah.
Know your name.
I will say though, one thing two things I didn't particularly like, which I will at least say on Arkane. Hey, I think actually this was probably, this isn't down to you watering the game down. One of these things I messaged Kevin about, which is I'm going to put it on the bullet time bingo board. I called it digital theater to you, but I guess technically it's the classic Gears of War walk and talk. What do I mean by this? Well, there's some missions that you go on where it's like, okay, in order to go to the boss zone, I need to find an item that will let me pass through the veil. Well, in order to do that, I need to find fragmented memories. Where are those? Oh, they're in special instance zones. Okay, and what do? You go up to an object, you press the X button, and then you stand around and watch digital theater happen for minutes at a time. It's like, this is really fun to do in this FPS game full of guns.
Yep.
Not good. Yeah, I don't know. And it's funny because like we've played a bunch of recent FPS games that have kind of had this. I mean, what's it called? We're going to be covering this game soon, but High on Life very much does have the digital theater problem, but maybe worse in that game because you're sitting around and watching Justin Roiland comedy happen in front of you, being puppeted by Unreal Engine 4 models, and it's like, not a fan of this.
I'm a gun, Rick.
Hey,
I'm a gun now. Oh, look at me.
Oh, guy, man. I'm a knife. I'm going to stab you.
I'm a stabby knife.
I'm a crazy knife.
I'm crazy.
I'm a knife.
Oh, this guy's pretty crazy.
Oh, Rick, I don't know about this guy.
Jesse, do you know? Did you play High on Life?
I did. I played the first couple of missions. It's, it is a better game than I thought it was going to be. But holy shit, is it annoying. Me
and Kevin had that exact same experience of, when It is literally the little Caesars meme of when you haven't got somebody nagging in your ear, this game ain't too bad. But it is with this. It's like, damn, when Justin Roiland isn't fucking say anything.
If you just modded out Justin Roiland from this game, it would be.
I mean, you can turn him off on the menu.
That's true.
So yeah. But
yeah,
I was going to say
Redfall
other than that, though, and I'm not
Digital
sure. God, Kevin, I don't know whether you got this far. Jesse, I know you did because I think we stopped kind of around the same time. But the actual boss vampires in this game are pretty uninspired. Is the nicest way.
It's just big pit bosses. You just show up and it's just like a hole in the ground that a thing is sticking out of, and you shoot it.
Do you like Metroid Prime? Do you like circle strafing? Wow.
What if that sucked 10 times more?
What if we literally had the boss vampires, but their thing is that, I can't move. I'm literally planted in the center of the room, so circle strafe, circle strafe, circle strafe.
Yeah, baby. That's what I like. I like the Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Lock On.
Oh no! I mean, Ocarina of Time. At least they moved about. Like, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I mean, I only did 2 of the bosses though, so the third one might have fixed this up. But the first one is literally, I am in the center of the room, and I am not moving, and I have a gigantic head, so you can just get easy headshots on me. The other guy at least had 3 different holes that he could pop out of, but he would at least stay out of the hole long enough that you could do half his damage. So there we go.
You know, I do wonder, because this is not too dissimilar, that boss fight. Most of the combat of Redfall is not too dissimilar to other loot shooters. Like, it feels a bit like Destiny. It feels a bit like Suicide Squad. It feels a bit like, insert any of them. So it's, and gameplay wise, it's not too different. I wonder if people who, and I'm only guessing this because we clearly like Arkane's other style of games. I wonder if people who like, what their perspective is. People who like looter shooters, what do they think of what Redfall's doing in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, I did talk to it a little bit. I did talk to people after the fact, and funnily enough, the guy who I was playing Suicide Squad with, who at least had like 1 million hours in Path of Exile. Funnily enough, he was a lot more positive on Suicide Squad than he was Redfall, and I think a lot of that was just down to the fact of what he had seen of Redfall and its looter shooter credentials just didn't cut the mustard for him. And again, like, that's kind of the interesting thing about this game, is that it is like trying to split the difference between an Arkane game and, I guess, and again, like, it's funny just thinking of Arkane, because sort of the elephant in the room that we haven't really mentioned at the beginning is that we do adore their games, but they have the ImSim curse of the only 2 games that they did that were genuine sales successes were Dishonored 1 and 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Prey wasn't the most successful. Their collaborations elsewhere didn't do super well, which is partially why I think Deathloop and Redfall were sort of designed in a way of like, hey,
Deathloop critically was more successful.
That's true.
It did not necessarily sell well, but Deathloop was nominated for a bunch of stuff. I'll point out, and then I think Prey had more of a. It was a pretty quick turnaround on Prey. Usually, it's like 5 years before people reassess a game, and it was like 2 years after Prey came out. People were like, "Oh shit, no, this thing slaps. We were wrong."
This was one of the best games of the decade. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those awkward things. It's just kind of like you understand why Redfall is like it is, but it's just much like the moniker of this podcast. It just doesn't quite. Just
misses the mark, baby. Misses the stake to the heart.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a good way of putting it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that we haven't touched upon that like either we liked about the game or didn't particularly like. I think I've got my main points there, which is that it is still an Arkane game, and I think the thing that we were talking about of like making it more of an instance experience would just be like you would just get more of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like they would sequence the game in such a way that you would be, you would be focusing on that stuff a lot more. But not to say that I don't think they could pull off an open world game, but I think it's just in order to do that, they'd be pushing more into like a Halo Infinite style budget or something like that. Where at least I think with Arkane, it's like they do very well within their niche.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
not to say.
I honestly have almost no more words for Redfall other than it's disappointing and it's fool's gold. It's Arkane fool's gold. it tricks you in its first 5 minutes into playing another at least 5 hours before you realize that you've been hoodwinked, bamboozled.
Yep.
And I had a feeling it was going to happen just because everybody was like, this is not great when it came out. But I was like, yeah, maybe it's going to be like Prey. Maybe people are like being dumb, little silly babies about it. And like, no, people were not being silly babies about it. It doesn't hit that Arkane sweet spot of letting me do fun shit and try things out. So.
Jesse, final thoughts from you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said basically everything there is to say about this game. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. But Redfall is, for all of its failures, a sign that perhaps Microsoft will take to heart. Making games like this, not just designed by committee, which is how this feels at times, but more so banking a lot on developers who... And I'm imagining, I mean, you would think Warner Brothers would have the same response given Suicide Squad, so who knows, maybe I'm wrong. But looking at these teams and going, okay, Pentiment did great. We gave a small team a good amount of money. They're very talented people who've been in the industry for a long time. Let them cook. Instead of doing more Redfall, my hope is they do more Pentiment. My hope is they look at Arkane Austin and they go, you guys have made fantastic stuff. Let's let you do that in a smaller space.
Do the
Make
thing
something
you are
that's
known
approachable.
for. Yeah.
Yes. Make an sim that's like 8 hours long, cool special thing, sell it for $30, put it on Game Pass. That's the one hope I have after this. Do they maybe fix it and create something that in, a year or by the end of 2024 is like a legitimately decent video game that feels more in line with what Arkane is known for? Maybe. But I really don't I don't see it being worth the money or time. It's just such a squandered project at this point, and it doesn't even have the potential of something like a No Man's Sky, where people are like, I can see what about this is good. We're struggling to find positive things to say in an hour and a half, and all of the positive things we have to say are, I wish it was doing a thing they did a decade ago instead of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
No, and again, and I'm very sort of like with these podcasts, I try to be like as anti-nostalgia as possible, because I think that lays the trap of just sort of being like, oh, old was good and new is bad, because like there's still fantastic FPS games still coming out, and I think
absolutely,
I'm very excited for what they're going to do with Blade, just based on their previous kind of
who's directing
pedigree, but also
Blade.
Dinga
is okay.
The,
okay, I have high hopes then. Hopes
that is why he came out at the Game Awards dressed up like Wesley Snipes, which is pretty cool. So I think again, like sometimes we do episodes of bullet time and we just go for the plot. This isn't that game. This is a game about loops. If anything, it's probably a game that you might get more fun out of playing with other people, which I always feel like that's a bit of a backhanded compliment, because I feel like every game you get more fun out of just playing with your friends.
Yeah,
pushing a stick down the road is fun with your friends.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I totally agree with you. I think, and this has sort of been the interesting thing with this Game Pass, like sort of mini series thing that we're doing, which is that, that's kind of where we're hoping for the industry to go, which is that use kind of safe money for riskier bets versus risky money for, quote, safe bets. Like, that is what, like, Suicide Squad, they went, it's these guys, it's Rocksteady, who made the Batman games that people love. But Destiny does a shitload of money every month. So these two things are obvious bets. So let's just throw them all the money in the world at it.
They're trying to, basically companies try to swing for the fences with the thing with the long tail, instead of just hitting doubles, releasing things that'll just get a bit of profit, and then
well, so that's the weird thing, right? Is now that is a bit of a tangent, I guess, but now that we're in the sort of downfall, that seems like the redfall, perhaps, of the industry, where you're seeing all these layoffs, all of this, there's no money, no one can get money, indie studios can't get money, AAA studios are having a tough time getting money. When they have to start making safer bets, what are those safer bets? Because for executives, they've been making the safe bets. To them, the live service is the safe bet. That's the thing that makes money. So, like, what do they think? I don't know what the answer is. It seems like for Warner Brothers, it's doubling down. So I'm very curious to see what the next 3-4 years of games look like.
David Zaslav has already doubled down by saying, yes, we're going to make more live services, and also we're going to delist and delete all Adult Swim games. I am
He should
David
fucking double
Zaslav.
down into the ground 6 feet in Minecraft.
Yeah. Yeah, David Zaslav, here's Minecraft, dig straight down, please.
Yep.
Suicide Squad, kill the executives.
Hey,
Kill the
there you go.
executives. Hey.
Man,
No,
I am so glad to have done an episode of Bullet Time where it hasn't gone into like the 4 or 5 hour mark. I need to do more episodes with you two. This is just like, no, we're going to hit all the points. Boom, boom,
No, we're
boom.
gonna hit
Let's
'em.
Just like,
Slancha.
we're going to do the quiz at the hour and a half mark, which is exactly what you want. Which, Jesse, hope you're excited because it's been a long time since we've done the quiz.
Wii Sports.
And the most exciting thing, this is a recent quiz as well because this game came out. Oh, when did it come out? I literally
Last
wrote it
year?
at the beginning of my. I didn't even look at my notes, but we literally hit like every point that I wrote down, which that's how you know this is a good episode of Bullet Time. This came out May 1st, 2023.
Wow.
So, unfortunately, because VG charts basically stopped updating after a long time, and I couldn't get any decent UK charts either, so we are going to be using GameIndustry.biz. And the problem is that they don't... they get their numbers from the MPD. They don't do it per week, though. They only do it per month. So instead, I will be asking you, what were the top 10 games of May 2023?
Is GameIndustry.biz what used to be Gamma Sutra?
I believe so, yes.
They went from one of the most unique
No. Gamma Sutra is a game developer now.
game developer.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Either it's just a bad
Still a bad name.
bad name. They went
Gamma
from
Sutra was
one of the
great.
most recognizable names in the industry to not.
to literally, who's this magazine for? Game developers. Let's go with game developer. Great. So yeah, I will be asking you from the month of May 2023. Not even a year ago, only 10 months ago at the time of recording this podcast. This is exciting.
May
Now, first
2023.
question. Where do you think Redfall came in on the charts?
It didn't.
It's on the charts.
If you believe it's on the charts, where do you think it came in on the charts? Kevin has said it
7.
didn't chart. You're saying 7. Kevin's saying didn't. Kevin gets the point because it didn't chart.
They don't get Xbox Game Pass numbers. That's why they don't know.
Oh yeah, so these are all based on physical numbers as well. So that's probably because that's why it didn't chart. Is it even on Steam yet?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Mostly negative reviews, I would assume.
Yeah. Well,
Look at that bad boy up.
But okay. But while you're bringing that up,
Yeah,
start.
it's on Steam for $70.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
Okay, fair enough. That's probably why it's not doing super well.
Mostly negative
no.
reviews. Oh.
Are all the reviews, why is this $70?
Let's see. Got it on sale because it can't be that bad. It can. Forgot to leave a review back when I bought it. It was both boring and bad. How do you release an open world co-op game with no matchmaking? None of my friends want to buy this game because of how bad it is. Now can't even enjoy the co-op due to no matchmaking. Not worth it. I paid $12. My mistake.
Actually, you know what? Before we do the quiz, because I forget, I sometimes do this on episodes of Bullet Time, but I forgot to make notes of it this time, but I've quickly looked it up. What do you think this game got on Metacritic?
Ooh. 36.
36 from Jesse.
27.
Higher than that, 56, which isn't
Okay.
very good. That's still mixed or average based on 75 critical reviews. User score, much lower. That is 35. That is generally unfavorable. But yeah, so in regards to just kind of what the critics were saying about this game when it was released, so Xbox Era gave it a high review, 85%, which they said, Redfall is fantastic in most ways.
Sorry,
A few
what
baffling
outlet
design decisions-
gave it the 85?
Xbox Era.
Xbox Era gave it an 85. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, no, funnily, Xbox Era, who was just like, well, nothing's coming out for a while, so
let's
Starfield's not coming out
Push
for a while.
Redfall.
Let's, give this
It's about to turn.
push
Push
Redfall.
the fish.
A few baffling design decisions around its co-op implementation and some frustrating technical issues hold it back. That's the point, actually. So we were saying that they haven't updated it much, but they have pushed out a shitload of patches since it came out, and it is a lot more playable than it was in May of 2023. unfortunately, you're playing more of the game that unfortunately isn't very good.
Yeah.
So I will say that about that. IGN Italia gave it 65%. In Redfall, Arkane's trademark can only be seen in places, and the end result, while not entirely awful, falls short of what we expected from the return to scenes of Prey's creators. Which, fair enough on that. And then the meanest review on this is 30% from the Jimquisition. Redfall is a sorry skeleton of a game that meets the lowest bar possible to be considered a functional, sellable product, and it manages to bungle even that elementary task. Damn.
Yeah.
Stephanie Sterling laying it out there.
Yeah, Stephanie Sterling is, spraying gunfire with no... doesn't care who it hits, but it's mostly Redfall. So, anyways, that's out of the way. Let's have a look at the top 10 games of May 2023, starting with number 1, a game published by Nintendo.
Published by Nintendo May last year.
May of last year, published by Nintendo.
What was one of the biggest games of last year?
No. It wasn't Tears of the Kingdom. That was out in May.
It is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom from Nintendo.
Oh, I thought that just came out.
No, it came out May 2023. So.
In your defense, no one has really talked much about it since it came out. So
that's true. It didn't win Game of the Year. It didn't win the Keeley. So we've
so
forgotten
really,
about it.
is it even that good?
Is it even that good?
Is it just the first game again, but they added Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts? Who can say? I'd say what game didn't add Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but maybe it should have. Number 2 in the charts is an open world game published by Warner Brothers.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, if you see this game in the charts, number 2, Hogwarts Legacy, Warner Brother.
Ooh.
Nobody wants to play this. Ooh.
Oh, hey.
Oh.
Too many people about the transphobic video game. What are you doing?
Hey, we got Joanne over here.
Us on the phone, just like, I hear they got a truck full of Hogwarts Legacies. They will be driving through it this time. We're going to bust the truck full of Turf Wizard games. Tell you what isn't a Turf Wizard game, though, fortunately. Number 3 in the charts, from publisher EA, another big game of last year.
It's a Jedi Fallen Order.
I'll give it to you. So the sequel to Fallen Order. It is Star Wars Jedi: Survivor.
Survivor. It's where
he survived the Fallen Order.
Yeah, the redheaded guy has to go on an island outside of Australia for 30 days while Jeff Probst.
I couldn't remember the host. I was just going to make a joke.
Jeff Probst puts him through a number of mini games.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a Survivor. Yeah. We haven't had Survivor on UK television in a long time.
It's still going strong here.
Yep.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor - Destiny's Child. Number 4 in the charts is another EA game. Fellas, at your buttons. Let's see who gets this one first.
What kind of game is it?
Is it car?
Oh, it is not. It's a sports game.
Sports
game. EA May. That would mean it is
soccer.
MLB The Show.
Oh, it's not MLB The Show.
That's
I
PlayStation.
might
That's
just
PlayStation.
I'll give it to I'll give it to Jesse. I think it is. It is the last titled FIFA game. It is FIFA 2023.
Oh, it's
before it became EA FC 24 later in the year.
Huh.
Which, yeah. Number 5 in the charts is a game that has been in the charts for the past 10 freaking years.
Mario Kart 8.
It is not Mario Kart 8.
Fortnite?
It is not Fortnite either. This is this is the other Eternal King that will never leave the charts.
Wii Sports Resort.
Tetris.
Open world game.
Open world game. Oh, is it Minecraft?
It is not Minecraft. No, it's came out in 2023, was a late generation 360 and PS3 game, but it's been re-released on like every console since.
Grand Theft Auto 5?
It is Grand Theft Auto 5 by
God.
Rockstar North and Rockstar Games.
Never dies.
Literally been in the charts for it will be in the charts for 11 years.
Yeah, that is a long
Yeah,
tail.
people are like, why haven't they made Grand Theft Auto 6 already? Because you fuckers keep buying 5. Stop
Yeah,
buying.
exactly. God, imagine when 6 comes out and it's only going to be the single player and people are going to be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Where's Lamar? Where's my rocket car? God. Hey, I tell you what, though, number 6 on the chart is a game that we were talking about earlier, a potential, I would say, like, peer of Redfall, but it's a game that, Kevin, you said was better than Redfall.
What did I say was better than Redfall?
Many things.
Many things. So many things.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
many
a low bar to
games.
clear.
I would say you and Jesse being on this podcast is also relevant to this game.
Oh, Dead Island 2.
It is Dead
nice.
Island 2 from Dambuster Studios and Deep Silver at number 6. I believe it did pretty well in May and then disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah, a big part of Dead Island 2's problem also is it's still an EGS exclusive.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that. But yeah, no, that is a Epic exclusive.
Yeah.
Hopefully for not much
Probably-
longer.
probably-
Not very
Yeah.
epic that it's stuck on there.
Probably this May. I imagine it's a 1-year thing, and it's going to be out on Steam in May.
Hopefully it will be on Steam in a fortnight. Number 7 on the charts is another sports game.
MLB The Show.
This is not MLB The Show. MLB The Show has not been a franchise in a while, I don't think.
No, it's still coming out every year.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought they were MLB Live or whatever. Oh, okay.
No,
The
in
show's still
2021, PlayStation was forced by, I guess, MLB to start publishing it on Xbox. So the 2021 game was on Game Pass, but it wasn't on PlayStation Plus. So it was free. The PlayStation exclusive franchise was free on Xbox,
Hilarious.
but it wasn't free. That's so good. So funny.
So
But yeah,
what you up
okay.
to, birds? God.
Sports
So
game.
I'll give you this clue. It's not soccer, it's not American football, and it is not baseball.
It's not NHL.
It's
No, it's
not
too late
NHL
for
either,
NHL
no.
or NBA
Yeah.
to be putting a game
Is it?
out. Yeah, that's
I guess it
that's
is,
the
yeah.
end
NBA
of
is
their.
more like
That's, May is the end of their
September,
seasons. Cricket.
Not cricket, no. A bigger sport than cricket.
Okay. EA's publisher. You said.
No, actually, EA is not the publisher.
Oh.
If I give you the publisher, it'll give away the game.
Oh, gotcha.
Should be a clue in itself.
Cars. Are there cars in it?
No, this is a human sport. Humans playing with balls.
Human playing with balls.
It's not soccer.
It's not soccer. It's not American
soccer,
football.
football.
It's not baseball. America's third favorite pastime.
Is it? So wait, is it NBA The Street?
Well, it's not
wish.
NBA The Street, but it isn't it. If it is, I'll give it to you. It's NBA 2K23.
It's
Okay.
It's weird
I
for
thought that was too late.
that would have been too late for it to be if it was May, because that's playoffs.
Still in the.
it might
could
have
still
been,
be in the charts.
It might have charted again because of the playoffs. That's right.
Exactly.
I mean, NBA
Yeah.
never stops being popular, to be fair. People
Yeah.
love those 2K games.
Yeah, they love those 2K,
love
especially
basketball.
when they're directed by like a random director. When you got like
Whoa,
Spike
hold
Lee.
on. What do you mean random?
You got like
Are you saying Spike Lee?
well, he's
was
a random director
director?
for a video game movie. Digital theater, whatever we got going on in the NBA 2K series.
Spike Lee presents 2K19 or whatever it was, Living the Dream.
Living the dream, yeah.
And we were. Yeah, didn't they get didn't Kugler did like the year, like it was after he had done Fruitvale Station before he did Creed, and they were like, hey, do you want to do this fucking basketball game? And it's like, only if I could put Michael B. Jordan in it, and they were like, you're on, birds.
Our game is starring Michael Jordan. You got it. Which one? Don't ask.
yeah,
Starring
yeah. They
Michael
said, "Yeah, can we
Jordan."
put Michael Jordan in it?" And they were like, "Oh, he's a basketball guy, sure." And then Michael B. Jordan comes in. And It's
Yeah.
like, the fuck is this?
That's literally the fucking Looney Tunes joke.
Oh god, yeah, they made that joke in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Oh,
Hey,
God.
Michael Jordan. He shows up and it's fucking. What's
Michael.
going on, guys?
Michael B.
It's Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael B. Emoji Jordan. Number 8 in the charts. A very relevant game to this one, the Ubisoft game.
It's Ubisoft.
It is a Ubisoft published
Is
game.
it a Assassin's Creed
It's gotta be
2023?
Far Cry.
No, Jesse got it.
Oh,
It
it's
is
Far Cry 6.
Cry. It is Far Cry the Secto.
Yeah.
Spanish.
Because it came out.
Start.
Far Cry 6 was released the year before as an exclusive, and then came out full bore last year.
And people were like, I really need to play a game where Giancarlo Esposito is the bad guy. I have never seen this before. This is new ground for me of him playing.
He's a
baddie.
villain? What? Holy shit.
Holy shit! He's a villain. Is he? What is he? Oh, he's a dictator. Oh, is there some sort of?
Is he perhaps stoic and maniacal?
Is he stoic and maniacal? Are there drugs involved in his dictatorship?
You know what? If I was Ubisoft, I'd hire him. But I just imagine like Giancarlo goes in and he's like, "I got an idea. Can you let me play this how I want to?" And he's just bugging out from fucking doing that.
Yes. Dude, that would be
That would've
so
been
good.
so
Plays
good.
bugging out the entire game.
You shoot at him and he's like, "Yo, you scuffed my trainers, man."
Oh God.
Number 9 in the charts is another open world game by Rockstar.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead
Wow.
Redemption 2 is at number 9, which that came out what, like 20? That came out in like 2020 or 20. Yeah, that came out in 2020.
It was peak. It was peak COVID. I
It was
think.
peak.
Yeah, I remember it being in
2018.
What?
2018.
No.
It came out in 2018.
No.
Yeah.
It hasn't been 6 years since RDR 2.
It has.
It's been
I'm
6
sorry, but it
years
has.
since Red Dead Redemption
has.
2.
I
On
imagine
console,
it must be back
to
in.
be fair.
That's okay. To be fair,
I was going to say this might be the PC port, or it could be like a re-release on the PS5.
I think it did.
or
It
Series X
got
or
it was like PC and PS5 re-release. It was like hey,
PC was 2019.
God damn it! Why?
maybe it's just never left the charts.
Yeah.
People were like, I really like Red Dead 2.
It's a goodie.
I really love the online in it.
Hey, you want Cowboy Grand Theft Auto where you can steal a horse? We
don't have
Yes.
Lamar, but we do have shootouts.
we do have some fat ass
like it.
horses. Look at the ass on these horses.
We got some, and you better see what these testicles do in different temperature
Fuck.
conditions. It's
This
gonna
was
blow
worth
your
the
hat off.
crunch that someone had to go through. Trust me, it's worth
It's
looking
worth looking at. I mean,
yeah.
somebody crunched for these nuts.
at. Oh boy.
You're gonna love them. I guarantee it.
You're gonna love my you're gonna love my nuts.
You're gonna love my nuts. Bonk. Number 10, then finally bring us home in the charts another Ubisoft game.
Assassin's Creed.
It is not Assassin's Creed.
I don't
No,
think there was one in 2022 or 2023.
no, there was not. This is another was sort of open world, I guess, but it's not part of the Far Cry franchise.
Is it The Division?
It is. Yeah, I give that.
Division
it is
2?
Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
There we go.
The
Wow.
squeakquel.
The squeakquel.
Fuck. Alvin and the
What a-
Chipmunks are saving Washington D.C.
Yeah, one terrorist. at a
Alvin,
time.
Simon.
What are the? I've
Theodore.
never played the Division games. What are they like?
It's like.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, they're so. They're so basically the Division 1. They play like looter shooters. They're not too dissimilar to
Yeah.
Right.
Destiny or even Redfall, but they're third person cover shooter versions of a looter shooter. And the narrative
Interesting.
conceit for the first one is that you are playing as like the police officers who survived the plague
virus.
that happens. The virus, not the T virus or the G virus, but the M virus, or perhaps the C virus for capitalism, because it happens on what is it, Black Friday?
Oh, yeah,
Because
that's
there's
right.
a
It
virus
begins
that's
on Black
spread through the
Friday.
money, and the money is what killed us. And I know writers who use subtext,
and they're all cowards.
And that's the whole conceit. And you're fighting the firefighters for most of the Division 1. They're like the main antagonists are the fucking firefighters who hate the police, and I agree with them.
That's so weird.
Yeah, why can't you be a firefighter in that game?
Honestly.
And it's also a virus game that takes no chances in terms of like, hey, it's straight up Tom Clancy, you know, they did it. There was a terrorism. It's not like it's not like Resident Evil where you're going to get some fun mutant people. It's just there was a terrorism and shit fell apart.
They coughed on people and they died.
That's literally all you got.
I wonder if there's any parallels to modern scenarios like that. Perhaps.
Never.
Can't think of
anything. Ever.
Is this like one of the few Tom Clancy projects that they just made after he so this has like no Tom Clancy there was no point where he was just sitting in a fucking computer chair and he was like, what if there was a terrorist attack on US soil? And they're like, good one, Tom. $1 million project to keep
they you know what they have they have like a Word doc that was saved in like Word it's like Word 97 format, and it's just like, you know, Tom Clancy wrote some like ideas down at some point in his life that they've been mining with like Tom Clancy's, and they're just like going down. Fuck.
What if there was a coup in Bolivia? There we go. Put Tom Clancy. Put his name on it.
Perfect.
You got it.
Gaming.
But boom, put it out. No politics. Don't worry about it. Put it out.
Yeah.
God. Do you think there's an idea in Tom Clancy's like book of napkin sketches, which is vampire loot shooter? Do you think that
Tom Clancy's Redfall,
Maybe.
baby?
Yeah. See, but Tom Clancy's Redfall would be actually like the USSR is invading or something.
Yeah. Redfall,
and they're all vampires.
It's USSR and it's North Korea.
Dude, it's easy. The slogan is better red than dead. It's just or dead than red. Sorry, that's the fucking. It writes itself.
It's just fucking Red Dawn with vampires.
Yep.
That's it.
That sounds like a good idea.
That's actually not a bad idea.
That.
I'd play the shit out of that.
I did make a note. Red Dawn was a slight inspiration on this game. Not as much as 30 Days a Night, though. Apparently, when they were making this game, they watched a bunch of different vampire films, and that was the inspiration for blocking out the sun and basically closing off Redfall from the mainland to basically turn it into a feeding place. Pretty neat. Speaking of pretty neat, Jesse, thank you very much for coming back into the bullet pit to talk about Redfall. While you're here, anything you'd like to point people towards or promote?
Yeah, if you aren't already a fan or aware of NoClip, well, this is your time to check it out. Patreon.com/NoClip is how you can support the documentary creators along with the podcast creators that you may know of. You may have seen the Final Fantasy XIV documentary or other things that we've put out recently. We have one by the time this episode's out that will be about the absolutely fantastic 2022 video game Pentiment. You can check that out on YouTube at youtube.com/noclipvideo. And along with the rest of the last 7 years of documentaries, or if you want to listen to the podcast, it's youtube.com/noclippodcasts. We every week are posting our thoughts on video games and what have you in the industry. It's a good time and we're always doing something new. So check us out.
Excellent stuff. Kevin, thank you very much for coming back to the podcast. Is there anything you would like to point people towards?
Yeah. Go ahead and find Pixel It, which is my podcast on all podcast platforms. And, check us out on various social media. Just type in @PixelItPod or PixelItPod and you'll find us. We do podcasts on video game novelizations and tie-ins, and both of you gentlemen have been guest co-hosts in recent episodes. So go ahead and take a listen to those babies. Oh, Jesse, you forgot to plug No Clip Crew, which is
that is true. Thank you for in your plugging more of my plug.
You have so many. You got all these channels, buddy. I gotta make sure you get.
If you want to see more,
if you want to see
casual content,
even more. No Clip. You got No Clip Crew.
That's right.
Just to sandwich it off, Pixel It. Go listen to it. Rate us 5 stars. Rate this podcast 5 stars, and then go over to Pixel It and rate us 5 stars there. Because there you go. That's my plug.
Makes sense.
Because it's great and worth your time.
It's great and
this
worth
is
your time.
Good. Yeah, exactly right. As per usual, I've been James. You can follow me over on Twitter or X, the website formerly known as Twitter, at Hotsider, HOTCYDER. You can help support the podcast as well over at Patreon at Hotsider as well. Until the next episode, though, folks. So I had two keep blastings in my head. I didn't know which one to, I guess I'll say both of them, which I don't know which was funnier. I was either going to say keep biting, because at least that kind of fits within the vampire theme, or keep blasting with a 0.1% critical chance on headshots, but also a 0.5 elemental chance if you're playing against heavily armored enemies.
That's right.
Well
Keep
done.
blasting for that 0.1%.